There should not be a need for something as tragic as a death to occur before we tell our loved ones about how much we care about them. But sadly, Han Eugene has been one of those people who had been filled with regrets when his younger brother, Han Yoo-hyun, died in his arms. Even a mythical wishing stone couldn't bring people back to life. Losing someone is even more painful if the tragedy happened after a fight or if they had not been getting along for a long time. It had been like that on the Han brothers' case. Their relationship wasn't that bad at the beginning though. In fact, they were very close when they were kids. Their closeness became even stronger when their parents died. They only had each other. At an early age, Eugene took the responsibility of raising the little Yoo-hyun. In order to support themselves financially, the teenage Eugene decided to drop out of school and work until his little brother graduates college. As a child, it is natural for Yoo-hyun to depend on Eugene. I think it's very likely that the idea of dropping out of school as well had crossed Yoo-hyun's mind. But we know Eugene wouldn't have allowed that. Aside from being a natural genius, I believe Yoo-hyun still worked very hard in order to make his beloved older brother, his Hyung, proud. Eugene's very proud of him, alright? To the point that he dotes on him and he even shows off his baby brother on every opportunity he gets. It's not difficult to please Eugene. He is already very satisfied with Yoo-hyun being a good boy who listens to him well. With that, even if Yoo-hyun got better academic achievements and even became taller than him, jealousy and intimidation never crossed Eugene's mind. The Han brothers are so sweet towards each other that it's unimaginable for them to break apart. So how did things go bad for them? Well, it started after the dungeon shock happened. All of a sudden, Yoo-hyun left home without bothering to explain why, and this left Eugene confused. He's already very shocked about his younger brother separating from him, so it makes sense why he couldn't come up with a possible reason on why Yoo-hyun did that during that time. And he still didn't understand why, even after many years. They lost more chances to talk with each other when Eugene became required to serve the military. Unlike Yoo-hyun, he's not exempted from it. After Eugene finished his military service, Yoo-hyun had already established his own guild and has become one of the top hunters in the country. Being the older brother of such a famous figure, there had been lots of expectations from Eugene as well. That pressure and comparison to his powerful younger brother must have been triggers on Eugene to fill the gap between him and his brother. He began to feel inferior, and even Yoo-hyun belittles him, making Eugene even more miserable. It's not that Yoo-hyun had never given any support though. He had provided his brother some financial support, claiming that he only did that out of obligation. But no matter how hard Eugene tries to approach him, Yoo-hyun pushes his brother away. And when Eugene had broken legs, Yoo-hyun didn't provide healer support, nor did he even visit at the hospital at least. Eugene was pretty much abandoned. No thanks to the psychological trauma he's going through, no wonder Eugene started to develop his inferiority complex. With that, he became so desperate to become an awakened that even the smart Eugene got fooled by a swindler. He was hoping that he could become as strong or even stronger than Yoo-hyun once he awakens. But unfortunately for him, he awakened with just an F rank. Being awakened just made him more alone and depressed. The negative criticisms and the humiliation he receives made Eugene feel even worse. With that, he not only had a hard time making a living, but he also struggles to survive. But despite the hardships that Eugene had gone through, we can still see some signs of Eugene's affection towards Yoo-hyun. It's not explicitly specified nor mentioned on neither the web novel and the webtoon, but on this scene, we see Yoo-hyun with a box that looks like a present. Then there's also this moment wherein we see something which looks like a cake dropped on the floor. There's no other person where such items could have come from, right? So despite their sour relationship, Eugene still remembered his younger brother's birthday and tried to celebrate it somehow. Even if there had been a hidden intention behind it, the fact that Eugene remembered and made an effort to reach out to Yoo-hyun himself shows that he still treasured Yoo-hyun. But sadly, despite those sincere actions, nothing changed between them. Even until the end, when Eugene thought his younger brother had come to rescue him, Yoo-hyun didn't miss that moment in saying offensive things to Eugene. Of course, that made Eugene upset and feel worthless once again. He's not angry at Yoo-hyun though. Instead, he's angry at himself for being so pathetic. He finds himself so useless that he thinks it will be better to die so that Yoo-hyun doesn't need to protect him anymore. It shows that he finds his younger brother's life more important than his, despite everything that Yoo-hyun had done. But to his surprise, Yoo-hyun sacrificed himself in order to save his precious Hyung. It didn't make sense to Eugene. He kept on asking why his younger brother did that. He even started having regrets of not dying as early as when his legs got broken, so that Yoo-hyun wouldn't even need to rescue him in that moment in the first place. Yoo-hyun's smile while dying irritated Eugene a lot. He's so annoyed about Yoo-hyun sacrificing himself for a useless family member. Eugene may have been jealous of Yoo-hyun's success, but he thinks that Yoo-hyun being alive would have helped more people compared to having an F rank like him survive. But apparently, the brothers are the same. They might have been doing despicable things towards each other, but deep inside, they still treasure one another. As we already know, Yoo-hyun had been distancing himself in order to protect his Hyung. Yoo-hyun is fully aware that his brother is his weakness, and he is willing to sacrifice a lot of things, including the happiness of being by his brother's side in order to guarantee his Hyung's safety. Yoo-hyun gets in the way when Eugene tries to enhance his abilities. He wanted to make sure that his enemies won't pay attention and go after his Hyung. Although Eugene had not been in the radar of Yoo-hyun's enemies, it didn't prevent him from facing danger. Eugene's broken legs angered Yoo-hyun a lot, and he must have eliminated everyone involved in Eugene's incident. Then while alone, Yoo-hyun apologizes to his Hyung. Eugene wouldn't have had broken legs if he didn't go into trouble though. Yoo-hyun thought that it would be better for his Hyung to be in that state, in the hopes that it will keep his Hyung away from dungeons. And while alone, he begs his Hyung to not go into dungeons. Eugene hears his little brother's cries when Yoo-hyun's memories flooded to him. "I'm sorry, Hyung. Please don't go into the dungeon, Hyung. Please, Hyung." Hearing that desperate voice saying Hyung over and over again had hurt Eugene a lot, that it was driving him crazy. That moment was really heartbreaking. In his thoughts, Eugene keeps on claiming that his brother's death wouldn't be much of a big deal to him and that there's no way he's going to cry about it. But tears fell from his eyes very easily. Luckily for Eugene, he was given the opportunity to make a wish. He didn't even need to think about it and immediately wished for his brother to return to the living. But unfortunately, bringing back the dead is an exception. That left Eugene at a loss for a while because saving his brother is the only thing he truly wished for during that moment. Later, when he had some time to think about it, a lot of wishes came to mind. But in the end, he still chose his beloved brother. If his Yoo-hyun cannot be resurrected, he did his best to come up with an idea to get his precious brother back somehow, and that is by going back to the past. The time he chose was not exactly right before his brother sacrificed himself, but even way back, particularly before he has awakened as a hunter. Eugene decided to live a quiet life moving forward and to forget about his ambitions as an awakened. He had realized what really mattered to him and let go of his pride. It was something that he could have done earlier actually. Eugene could have just simply supported Yoo-hyun in the background. He could also have just lived well with his dear brother protecting him. He had wondered himself why he had developed that inferiority complex of his. But anyway, Eugene's realization and acceptance of his inferiority complex helped him perform actions that would fix his relationship with Yoo-hyun, and he started with a hug and an apology. This took Yoo-hyun by surprise, of course. He couldn't believe it, wondering that Eugene might be apologizing just because he caused yet another incident. Although Eugene's traumas are a result of Yoo-hyun's actions, I think it was humble and proper of Eugene to say sorry first. Yoo-hyun may have been at fault in many ways, but we have to consider that he is just a teenager during that time. He was still immature and was very confused with the things that happened, not to mention afraid. His brother was not even nearby when he awakened. An S rank needs around a day in order to get used to his strength. So, we can imagine his fear of being close to Eugene because of the power he cannot control. He is afraid of the danger he'll be facing, much more on the danger that his brother will get involved in because of him. It was smart and caring of Yoo-hyun to think of those at a young age. But that does not mean he's not prone to making bad decisions. And one of his mistakes was not telling his Hyung why on earth he left. Like what Eugene said, if only Yoo-hyun had told him, he would have understood. On Eugene's side though, being the older one, he should have tried to understand his brother more. Like what he said himself, as the older brother, he should have acknowledged Yoo-hyun's struggle sooner. But sadly, Eugene got blinded by his brother's power and fame. That inferiority complex on him became a huge distraction from realizing the hardships that Yoo-hyun was going through behind all that. Eugene had assumed that Yoo-hyun had everything easy for being an S-rank hotshot, but Yoo-hyun actually had to worry about the threats to his life, including food poisoning and curses. His young age had been a factor for other hunters to find him a nuisance. Yoo-hyun also went through a lot of difficulties when building his own guild and when clearing dungeons. Unfortunately, the only time Eugene started to understand his brother's circumstances was when Yoo-hyun's memories were transferred to him. But since they made up and started talking heart to heart, Yoo-hyun started opening up to him, letting Eugene know more about what his little brother had suffered from and is going through. Hearing his Hyung forgiving him for the things he did and understanding what he had gone through made Yoo-hyun very thankful. He was relieved that his Hyung still cared about him like in the past. All this time, Yoo-hyun's just worried that he will be a burden to his Hyung. But since now he knows his Hyung understands, he doesn't need to distance himself anymore. Like Eugene, Yoo-hyun apologized to his Hyung as well. Going to the past and improving his relationship with Yoo-hyun had been one of the best decisions Eugene had made in his life. Now that he saw his brother again, of course, he didn't miss the opportunity to tell his little brother that he loves him. These kinds of moments would usually make people very touched. But if it's between two guys, it could make some people cringe, thinking that it looks gay. That kind of reaction only makes sense to me if they just saw this particular panel without any idea about who the characters in the picture are. But other than that, there should not have been any malicious or negative thoughts on sincere portrayals and expressions of brotherly love. I'm very pleased that this series dared to put that kind of emphasis on such family love in an action fantasy series. In the real world, we don't have the ability to regress like Eugene, so it will be great that we learn from Eugene that there's nothing wrong with saying I love you to those who matter to us. So, to those of you watching this video, love you all! Anyway, I hope you guys had enjoyed this video. The idea about the family love between the Han brothers came to mind when I realized that Yoo-hyun's birthday was approaching, which is Christmas Day. So, happy holidays everyone! And of course, there's more to talk about related to the Han brothers. So, if you want more videos related to the Han brothers and friends, then I suggest that you click the subscribe button. As always, likes, shares, and comments will be highly appreciated. See you in the next video. Bye!